Questions abounding and completely wrapped up. Um, for the record, I want to thank you guys because even with everything that's going on in the world around us, even with our jobs, our families, and everything else, we do take the time to put forth the effort tonight. What? And it is an exchange of time and effort. And I want to thank you all for being here and sharing these moments with these characters. We have been through quite a bit. We have experienced highs, lows, and most of the steps in between for each of these characters. Some things are still left lying fallow to be addressed, as they will be addressed. But for the most part, we have constantly and consistently moved forward in the exploration of this world that they inhabit. And for that, I'm really, really thankful. But with questions addressed with my thanks heartfeltly extended, I'd like to say that this is officially Steel Hearts, Rusted Souls, Season 3, Across Your Dreams. When we last left our coterie, when we last left the members of this adopted family, they had trialed and travailed and arrived back at the Premier Chantry of Gary, located as it is centrally to the area, not necessarily centrally located to Gary, but it is on the campus of the college, and it is centrally located to the area. That includes from the Illinois-Indiana border all the way over to parts that are left unexplored. Many people don't realize what Gary is. Gary, unlike 85% of the bulk of Indiana, is the city that care forgot. It is a city that has fallen in esteem, respect, status, and is in fact nothing more than a village spread out over a municipal area that should be the size of a city. At one point in Gary's past, it rivaled most of the area. It was in contention with Chicago. It was at its time the fastest growing city in the region. And while Chicago consistently and constantly grew, it was relatively at a snail's pace. Chicago would subsume other nearby cities and burbs and make it part of itself. So its growth never fully stopped, but it was nowhere near as explosive. It was nowhere near as ostentatious. It was nowhere near the level of vitality that was Gary. Somewhere during the early 1900s, just after World War II, sliding from Prohibition, when Gary exploded onto the map, it immediately hit the point of reduction. The pressures of Chicago and the kindred therein placed their foot firmly on Gary's neck. And there's a saying that those with no ability to fight, no reason to do, often don't know when they should fight and when they should flee. The bulk of Gary fled, leaving it to be 96.6% African American, leaving it to be a city that was the face of blackness in Indiana. It is a rarity that when you hear Gary, you think of anything and anyone except for the urban black Indianan. Yet, all the same, with all of that being on the surface, with all of that being the projected image of Gary, it hasn't completely given up. For the last 5 or so decades, it has existed in an impossible position. Officially, as everyone is concerned, it is a tower city. It is ruled over, lorded over by Prince Modius, the child of Annabelle. the highest ranking member of the Toreador clan in the Midwest. Unofficially, it is wholeheartedly an anarch city, ruled over by Juggler, the stereotypical penultimate rabble rouser, the penultimate Bruja, if you will. All of that changed last year. Modius and Juggler disappeared. And even in a city in decline, such as Gary, nature abhors a vacuum. The power left in their wake, what little bit there is in Gary, was up for grabs. People chose their sides, and those who didn't often ended in precarious situations. Life and limb were lost. Battle lines formed and reformed, overtures made and spurned, and it is still a year later, an eye blink in the lifetime of a kindred, a city truly at war. And it's not the cold, respectful war of ages that takes place in the Chicagoland area. It is not the dyed-in-the-wool firmament that is Washington, D.C. and places due east. It is a walk down the wrong block at the wrong time, and you very well may disappear. And while that was always been a risk for the mortal denizens of Gary, until recently, that was not a concern for the kindred. There was no situation that, having already died, they could not survive. They could not escape. They could not fight socially, mentally, or physically their way out of. Those halcyon days of intrepid safety due to their being undead are long gone. There are several places throughout the city where safety can be all but assured for being kindred. One of those places, having earned its stripes on more ways than one, is Salacious. The other is the Tremere Chantry. Formerly, there was the Depot and the Farmers Market. Those places have unfortunately proven to be less than safe. The Depot is currently closed for business, so the open air criminal market where things can be obtained or sold isn't quite the same. And with Aces having met his final death, even his attempt at rebirthing the Depot and pulling it more wholly within the Vanguard's clutches have fallen by the wayside. A loss of opportunity is the word of the day, and the walls are closing in. There's no time like tonight. There's no time like today to make a stance and hopefully stop the ever-increasing decline into less than obscurity. So we open with Ben, Marcus, Leonetti, Mason, already gathered at the Tremere Chantry, at Cone's Chantry, the Rose Garden Chantry. The events of last night and then the several nights before having taken their toll. So would everyone be so kind, every player be so kind as to go ahead and roll your rouse roll for the evening, and then we'll convene in the small cubicle-like office that has been assigned to Magister Farmer. There is a working aphorism that there are two things that are guaranteed: death and taxes. And while taxes, as they pertain to humans, isn't quite the same, the beast does tax. The beast does exert its forces. The beast makes demands. For many, those demands are nothing more than susurrus whispers in the background. For those of you who roused and resurrected for the evening, that demand is a little louder. There's a clawing at the door as the beast seeks escape. Its voice, little more than a whisper at this point. But little more is still far too loud. So convening in the cubicle with the hunger at the edge of your vision, with the hunger never far from your ears, what do we have before us, knowing what has taken place?
Marcus's concern is seeing how effective his magic was. And he is still a little sulky after Ben implied he wasn't dangerous enough to knock unconscious. But he's looking at Mason's neck and exposed parts of his arms to make sure the blackness has been receding. And Ben's arm, which is more visible because her contact point was a finger.
You need me to remove my shirt?
We should see if this worked as well as I had hoped.
So I guess he, unbuttons everything, all the fucking buttons, the vest, and the what, and opens to see what's still there.
So Leonetti, there are several things that, while this is taking place, when we last left, your hunger was considerably high. When we last left Leonetti, his hunger was at a 4. Luckily for him, the beast did not rear its head. However, there is no other way to say it. You are a hungry wolf surrounded by chicken. Would you be so kind as to roll your resolve plus composure?
Okay, so resolve plus composure. Let's hope that this. Okay.
In the grand scheme of things, it is but a small bit of nothing. It is but a mild concern, even as the beast is raging inside your chest. You are holding on to sobriety by the thinnest of slivers. You are holding all that you are at bay with a wing and a prayer. There is no doubt in your mind that within the next night, you will burst into flames. You will drown in the vitae every kindred near you. And you know that much like yourself, your beast is a patient thing. It doesn't rant, it doesn't rave, it doesn't assail with any panic or desperation. It makes you a solemn promise as you look on all of that smooth and even, though marred by the inky blackness, kindred flesh.
I guess Leonetti just looks away just to make sure that he doesn't fall victim to it while scheming his next lunch, because his lunch for tonight. He has made a promise to stay with the coterie. He's not going to break it but he's going to do his best to not break it by attacking. So he's going to find his meal.
All right, sounds like a plan. So you are determined and focused. There are things you are here for, and that is not one of them. Screw you, monster in my chest. Would you be so kind as to roll 1d10 for me, by the way? Because your bane is 1 or 2, by the way.
Let me check.
If it's 2, go ahead and roll 2. I thought it was just 1. I just wanted to make sure.
Class Bane, cancel place. I don't remember. Where is that?
Okay. Did you load up your most recent? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did. I'm looking at the advantages, flaws, or plain. It just says.
It should be at the bottom right of the back side of the sheet. Let me just double check on what you have saved here on your.
Well, it might be different. Politics and we flaw. Ask. Well, it shouldn't have changed too much, so.
No, your base shouldn't have changed. It should be.
Yeah, so it should be just the standard revenue.
All right. Well, that being the case, with that 1d10.
Okay, 1d10?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see what happens.
Well, good sir. To compound the internal pressures of the beast making its promises, and you turning away to not stare upon all of that glistening, ready-to-eat steak that you're surrounded by, those lovely chicken breasts and wings, and you can make a night of it. There's a game on if you remember correctly, but you force yourself to look away. And then looking away, your eye turns inward, not towards the beast, but towards that flickering flame in your gut. You realize that you have slept in the chantry 2 nights this week, and all of that doom that was foretold upon your birth, all of that sheer combustion, that fear of flame that exists in your heart wells up. You know that you will combust. That doom, that sword of Damocles hanging over your head, is rocking and swinging a little closer. And speaking of closer, looking on the marred flesh of Mason and Ben, Marcus, there are certain things that come to mind. One, sometimes the mundane ways are the best ways to remove certain things. And right now, while the progress of all of that inky death has been halted and receded a hair's breadth, there's still too much within their skin. There's still too much within their being. And you bled Mason, and you know that it's not beneath the surface, it's in the skin. You would need, or you would prefer, having Josh at hand to help with this. But with him being elsewhere, you need someone who has an understanding of skin. You need someone who is skilled in manipulations of such. And maybe there's a homeopathic version that won't require you losing another digit.
Fucking dragons. Ben, I'm just going to say it. The magic worked as well as I can make it work. You guys are well out of danger of dropping dead on us.
This disgusting goop's still here, though.
Well, there still remains, there has to still remain some of the tainted wood. And my control of the magic is not fine enough. We may need to find another dragon since the doc has left us. I'm gonna be right back.
Well, we need to find another dragon. I may have someone in mind.
Hey, I might have to be going for a bit. If your plans require me, please tell me now, because I need some hunting that needs to be done. So, is there anything that I can do to help before I go out?
Well, I doubt we'll need any more killing at the moment. Oh, it's an old friend that I'm thinking of, not an enemy. I know, I have made some of those before, Ben. In my past.
Be careful. I believe you already know that we need no more enemies.
I know.
Okay.
I'm a changed man.
Yes. I respect you for that.
Isn't that exactly what someone who hasn't changed would say?
Respect you for your goals to change. Be better than you once were. Well, if that's the case, I'll be going now.
But please try and find us quickly.
Of course. Leonetti proceeds to exit and stalk for some prey.
So, just for my edification to simplify things mentally for me, Leonetti is going to leave Mason, Ben, Marcus, and go where to seek out sustenance. Because, unfortunately, and this is the part that sucks for those who are determined to hunt the undead, in most situations, unless of course you go where you know there are particularly kindred abounding, finding a lone kindred travailing the city is virtually impossible.
Yeah. Well, let's see now. Here's the last place. It would be nice if I could find another kindred out hunting, but that's a long shot. Hopeful thinking, which is probably not going anywhere. So first, something the easiest strategy would be to go and try to get it kindred away from others, but then my guy isn't that good for that. What the fuck do I do? Fuck.
Marcus, you back?
I'll be. Are there any places that Leonetti would know are places of information?
You can ask
Gathering.
someone.
I know that. Okay, I'll ask. He asks. Asks if anyone still there. Hey, do you know a place, any convenient place for of information or gathering of kindred nearby?
We're at a place of
Other than
gathered
this.
kindred.
There's the Anarch Bar.
Also, Silks.
Yeah, and Salacious.
Okay.
Suppose it depends on what you're trying to find out. Silk's information is always more expensive.
Thank you. Oh, okay, wait. So there's two places that are... There's two places...
And Leo, just keep in mind the last few times we've split up, it hasn't ended well for us.
Yes. Good points. Maybe I should stay. But I really don't think of the consequences. Where are we again?
College.
The
Oh, yeah,
University. We're right near the intersection of 94 and 53. The Dive is to the south. That's one of the Anarch bars. Then there's the Wasteland. I think that's up north.
It's 93. Um, well, where could you say that one more time for me? Could you tell me that one more time? Just trying to find the roads that you said, because I am not.
Are you looking at the Stillhearts map?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Indiana University is the black round house. You see 3 black churches. Head south. There's a black circle with a house in it. That's the Chantry.
Oh, it's here.
Yeah.
Oh, this is. Okay,
Yeah.
wait.
By 35th Avenue.
35th. Okay,
So you can always just type in Cone Rose and it on the search function, and it'll take you right to that location. COHN space ROSE. And if you want to be more specific, you can also put in, Tremere Chant.
Rose. Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
And the Dive is
Okay, there it is.
the little green martini glass to the south along 53.
I see.
And then if you take the 94 up, it gets you right near Salacious, which is a purple music note.
93.
Sorry, the 94.
It is literally as almost as far east as you can be in Gary and still be in Gary. There is 1 point further east, but doesn't quite quantify. All the same, while you're deciding that, Ben, while stronger is stronger, there's still the press of things. There's still the very real aspects of you are not as whole as you once were. And the raptor-like monster in your chest, the drill instructor that urges you on, isn't satiated. It isn't at peace. It isn't calm. It is quietly raising its voice. It is quietly scritching and scratching away at your strength to hold it at bay. It is much like water and wind and eventuality. It will erode away every block between you and itself. And the added distraction of the thrumming, quiet pain of the poison that is no longer moving through you like lightning and having receded is still there. It's an annoyance adding to that scritching and scratching and the voice of her. The reason why women are not allowed to fight is because we are, in fact, the cruelest bitches there are. But in the advent that you make something of yourself and present yourself in a manner less than ladylike, you will get what you deserve. I am here to make sure that you survive such violations. But other than that, persons such as yourself are beneath my notice. What are you really worth in the grand scheme of things? Not much. It's the reason why you are wax, and why you are mechanics, and why you are helping as far from the front line as possible. God forbid a dame such as yourself find yourself away from civilization, the stain and mess you'll leave behind. And you hear her voice and her education thrumming just beneath Marcus's voice, just beneath Mason's voice, just beneath Leonetti's voice.
So, Ben is hearing the things going on around here, but not.
Yeah, hear me. Oh wait, can you hear anything that's going? So, shit.
You were saying, Ben?
So she's kind of listening to that voice that's familiar to her, but then at the same time, it's like layers of voices. So she's hearing Marcus, she's hearing Leonida, she's hearing Mason, and it's all like insects buzzing mixed in with the woman from her past. And then in the very, very back of her head, there is a large clock. And the numbers on the clock are running down. Because with this being a new night, this means that there is only one night left until she is supposed to return and hand herself over. And she feels like she's got nothing done, and everything else is running around, and nobody's paying attention to the fact that this is about to happen. So there's that worry mixing in with the screeching of her beast, and this woman, and the hunger in her fists are clenching and releasing, clenching and releasing. And without realizing it, as they're clenching and releasing, they slowly turn more bird-like, kind of like when she was in the sewers. And her talons are digging into her palm. But she's not realizing it. She's just trying to focus on something other than what's going on in her head.
Mason, as you're looking over Ben and I'm sorry, Marcus, as you're looking over Ben and Mason, it'd be almost impossible to not notice the sloughing away of the skin, the sloughing off of small bits of her nail as the raptor-like talon takes the place of a fingernail, and then the scaly undercoat of the flesh of the talon begins to subsume every facet.
I'll start like quickly city walking over and like put a gentle hand on where the talon is. That is forming. And activate awe as well.
Okay, activating awe will definitely attract attention. What are you doing in regards to, besides trying to focus everyone on you?
Basically saying, I haven't. Basically trying to get things moving now. I have a. He'll say, I have destination that we have to go to now. Ben. How about we say goodbye to your friend, and we start heading there with a smile, saying, "You're about to snap," type of smile, like I'm down there.
Marcus stands up, his left arm still not working 100%. I think before we go anywhere, we need to get some sustenance in, some of us at least.
Right.
I think it's time I start wielding this title of mine a little bit and get us some food.
Now there's an idea I can get my head around.
And you need to put a shirt on before we go out.
I just have to.
Come on, Ben. Let's get some food.
Guys that meet Marcus are definitely not her normal brown. It's like heterochromia, where one eye is brown and the other is that gold. That means her bird is too close to the surface. And she's listening to him, like she's paying attention now, because obviously with Mason having thrown up awe, she's focused on them both. But it's like she's trying to figure out a puzzle. And the puzzle is how to get at what's inside of your soft, squishy body.
And look at that. Just like much of your kind. All very much what the men can provide for you. What have you been to these men who have provided, except for a drain on their resources? Except for someone who must be protected, even against their own self. Look at you.
And that's when the laughter starts. And it's, oh, the sound is, imagine an owl screeching, but a human laughing, and it's layered over each other. And shut up, shut up, shut up. I swear, I can see you right now. I would rip your face clean off. Shut up. I can handle myself. I survived my first year. I've survived so many years since then. Shut up.
I look at Marcus to go get blood. I say that, like, go get it. And I just hold Ben in a whole hug.
Marcus steps gingerly around Ben while she's having her monologue with herself. And heads out the door looking for the nearest acolyte.
I guess at that time, Leonetti leaves to go to
Yeah, I like snap follow. Follow the Marcus.
Stefan's Haven to get a lead on food.
So, with the nightmare fuel that is listening to an owl voice exit from a human theming, and Mark is moving or leading those who are willing to follow. With Leonetti choosing outside of the chantry, heading on his way to do harm to another unliving being. We will take a small view out into the world that is Gary, outside of the boundaries of the chantry, farther into the night. There are certain facets of society that draw a certain clientele. Certain people feel more comfortable. One of the many things that police, law enforcement agencies do around the world when they're attempting to curtail criminal activity is make those who inhabit the area uncomfortable. They make their presence known. They make more patrols. They happen to be around more often, hoping that it will act as a deterrent and move the smaller, non-heavier fish, the small guppies, along. And when you move the small guppies, the big fish have to eat themselves and expose themselves to more risk. That, too, has been the very foundations of how the Leos in Gary have been operating for the last few months. There are more of them on the streets. They have had an influx of cash, resources, and most importantly, enough bodies to patrol the city as if it was an actual city, not the dying, burned out husk that it is on a normal daily basis, but as if it was in fact a city, as if the 29,000 or so individuals and souls who live in the Gary environment were not, 69,000 or so souls that are in Gary are not the dregs of dregs, as if they are not, just waiting to be put off life support, as if they were a burgeoning, bustling burg. And without beating the dead horse too much, it has made business for Nikki Sin despicably poor. No one Most of the people that can go ahead and pay for a $500,000 or more tattoo do not want to be in an area where there are more than one police patrol during the course of their tattoo. It is unfortunately the side effect, especially being as based on the scuttlebutt, based on the gossip, based on even someone who is as despicably outside of kindred society as Nikki. They're not just looking for criminals. They're not just looking for successful drug dealers, successful pimps, successful sneak thieves, fencers, or the like. They're looking for the undead. They're looking for kindred. They are keeping their eyes out for any sign of such. And as such, because of Nikki's near central location to Gary proper, not just to the area, she is well within the patrol radius. Her clientele having dropped to nearly zero over the last year. She's always been a hidden gem in the area, in the region, a place where people can go and get decent tattoos and other modifications, staying off everyone's radar, keeping her nose to the grindstone and staying under the cover of darkness. To quote the vernacular of the day, she's been stealth as far as everything else is concerned. On this evening, much like many of the other evenings, business is deplorable. Business is despicable. If it stays at this level, maybe she can get by another month. The overhead's too high for no business. Something must be done.
Are you waiting for me, darling?
Indeed.
I have no customers. I can do anything. I can only sit and think about what I need to do to get more customers, or perhaps go out and offer my services as they are.
So with everything going to hell in a handbasket, carried along by a Rottweiler the size of a T-Rex, Nikki's idea to survive the storm is to what exactly?
Excuse me?
With all of the problems abounding, Nikki's idea is to what exactly?
Find a way to get more clientele, of course. And at the moment, any ideas escape me. It's a crazy trying time. I sunk all my money into place, and now it's money. How would you think I feel? Disgusted. Disgusted that they want to hunt us. Disgusted they won't leave us alone. I keep my nose clean. So my options are limited. So I suppose I must reach out to kindred society. against my better judgment. That is my course of action.
Located where cathedral is, there, due to having been accepted into the city, there is but one course of action, and that is either to appeal to the powers that be, protection, money, loan, or to find a way to drum up business. The closest center of kindred power is roughly 5 blocks away. Now, a half a mile roughly is never that long of a distance to travel. Normally, a half a mile with the increased scrutiny is running a gauntlet. Nikki's car is notable. Nikki, being what it is notable. A lone blonde moving across the city by themselves presents a target most avariciously craved by those who crave such things. However, with little recourse ahead of her, having managed to avoid and escape much of what has been taking place, she has to move northeast across the city towards Elysium and hope that there is a court concession. Having isolated themselves from the bulk of kindred society, the scheduling of Elysium functions and the like is unbeknownst to them. The doing is the question. How will they get there? From their place at 500 North Washington to the recognized Elysium of the city's center haven on North Broadway. How will Nikki make that distance?
Since my car is very recognizable, I'll go out the back door of my building, go a couple of blocks, and call an Uber.
Out the back door of the Cathedral of Flesh, out the backside of Washington, there's the Methodist Church there, and most pressingly, it is also the Gary Housing Authority. Well, most people would assume that such a place would be an island in a storm. It is unfortunately so much worse. The people who have swallowed their pride, the people who have given up hope, the people who have no other recourse and out of desperation descend on the office, oftentimes are indigent, oftentimes are homeless, oftentimes are desperate enough to act on their worst impulses. And so as you see Leonetti, tall, rangy, mountain of death incarnate, he looks very much like one would expect a killer to look. He looks like a cross between Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy. There's death in his eyes, and the way that he is stalking, and the way that he stands out as a member of the undead because he never blushes, is unmistakable. There's a look to him that presages violence, that presages death. And as one undead member to another undead member, like two predators stalking a field, you both realize what you are. No blushed flesh means each of you understand what the other is. And in this moment, there is death in the air.
Whoa. I love that.
I'm sorry I didn't hear you.
Hello. Oh. I was just saying hello. There's Leonidi quickly looks around the shop, see what and keeps his head cool. My internet is shit. I'm sorry, my internet was a little bit wacky. Oh, no.
No, it's understandable. You're a little low, but you're heard.
Well, Leonidi looks around, saying, nice. It's a very nice area. What are you doing?
Catching a rod. What are you doing?
Looking for lights.
Well, I wish you luck. And the whole time I'm looking at you.
Now, the space that you guys are occupying is literally the alley between the cathedral and the building that houses the Gary Housing Authority. The alley is used much like a street. In most other places, in most other cities, it is in fact a street, but because, well, there is no infrastructure to speak of with Gary, so this has not been maintained. It is out of the way. It is out of the public thoroughfare normally, though it is used by many as a way to egress from 6th to 20th, or from 6th to the alley between 6th and 5th Avenue. It is a minor, major thoroughfare for foot traffic, for people who are trying to stay out of sight. It is the place where privacy is all but assured.
I certainly hope you're not looking to feed off me.
God in Himmel. You not understand. There is no appeasing the beast. This man that you wants your being, your existence. Have you no sense of pride? The annoying voice, the annoying truth of your beast rises its head, cresting just over the wave of your calm, your hunger increases, and its voice grows. Its condemnation of you, of your continued existence, of what it views as your cowardice, grows. And Leonetti, right before your eyes, your steak turns into chopped liver. You mistook what you saw. There's no kindred in this immediate area save for yourself. The blonde looks far more vivacious, and it was clear that it was desperation on your part, but they are clearly human.
Well, I'm getting hungry, so do you know of any place to eat? Any good places you could recommend?
Unfortunately, no, not at the moment. It's discussion situations.
So, unfortunate. Well, I hope that you know what you're taking.
Comes the cough from the dumpster, which has been overfilled by several weeks and has not been emptied. Because again, infrastructures are a very real thing, especially for municipal buildings such as this. The Gary Housing Authority does quantify as a municipal building, meaning that it's tended to by public works. They clearly have been shirking their responsibility. The cough coming from the pile of trash next to the dumpster stands, and it's a bear of a woman, her frame large and bulky, the muscles beneath clearly having been exercised more often than most would expect, and her yellowing, bloodshot eyes look at you both. Any of you guys got some money? Just a little bit of do. I don't need that much.
Sorry, but no.
I was hoping you wouldn't say that, because see, now I gotta check you. And and I don't want to leave a stain on that nice dirty suit you're wearing. And Missy, don't make me have to bust you up anymore. You just stand right there and let me give you man a once over. Hell, you might like what you see. He might like what he see.
It would be impossible for you to carry on and forget you saw us.
What, boy? What? No, that's not gonna happen. Yeah, you don't get that. Neither one of you, paid the toll, so I gotta collect. I was trying to be nice. But if you want this quick and dirty, I can just search the dead bodies all the same. And she whips out a blade, roughly a hand length. It's literally 5.5 inches of rusted, well-used, blood-stained steel.
Leonetti reaches for his gun. She stabs who?
You reach, she stabs.
Okay.
Jesus.
I think that you need to add a space in between V and 5, because I think that it's just registering 1, not 5 plus 1 hunger.
No, that was check.
So they only have 1 to their stat. What's the 5 for?
It's you can use the 5 or without it.
E5. It's the 5th edition.
Oh, I see. Yep. I see. Sorry. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Thanks.
This is a shame. I seem to have gotten home.
You're at 3 hunger now. That is probably the hungriest that Nikki has been in a very long time. The voice, it's heavy Deutsch, even veers from English at this point, though it's easily understood by Nikki. It is a mantra, a prayer to the fatherland that it may never fall, and that even despite Nikki's failure of existence, that may the strength be granted to them so that they can at least die like a good upstanding Deutschlander instead of the coward craven existence they have existed within.
I'm not a coward. I just know when to choose my battles. Is this woman still being
No,
aggressive?
the woman has just stabbed at Leonetti because he hasn't moved and Nikki roused. He began moving his hand towards his jacket and she stabbed. She buried the 5.5, almost 6-inch blade into his gullet. She is not at any point along the way someone or something that bluffs. There is a very real intention in a statement that she can search the dead body as well.
Are you quite finished with them?
She pulls the knife out with a very trained, practiced hand. The stab and lunge forward, causing the blade to angle up so that once it hit his stomach, it would slice in and up towards the lungs, ensuring a death or at least a grievous wounding. The twist was completely and totally unnecessary, but she added it all the same. Leonetti, would you be so kind as to go ahead and that's outcome of 2, blade of 2, that's a total of 4.
Okay. So for
Half, of course.
okay, so where should I put that?
You'll denote that as lost health levels.
Okay, so just two damage.
Yes.
Okay. Still pretty fine.
Pulling the blade out, she whirls towards Nikki, knowing that there's no way that he's going to survive that. She doesn't even bother to look. It's a discounting of his existence at this point. And she whirls towards Nikki. Now, you guys had a chance, but you won't be the first people that I bury. Won't be the last. All I would have took was a couple of bucks.
Is she looking good to me?
She's whirling. The blade is coming. What were you saying, Leonetti?
Leonetti decides to pull out his gun and shoot her. She thinks that's like, can he at least?
Yes, she's whirled. Being grievously wounded with a gut wound, you should be falling. She doesn't even consider you at this point, and she's locked onto Nikki, the clearly small, effete, effeminate blonde who.
Aiming. He's currently aiming for her shoulder, for the shoulder where her joints connect. Here's.
Ew. Oh, good gods. Fucking Christ. What the fuck? I think that's the highest I've gotten on so far. It's a messy critical.
It is. It is. It is, in fact, very, very messy. Quite messy. With the blade coming, is there anything that Nikki's attempting to do?
Yes, I'm going to mesmerize her. Four successes. I will power that. The hell?
You can just tap the black dot there at the bottom if you like.
I did.
That is interesting.
I'll keep the 4. You can stop moving now if you want to. Well, you can just stop moving.
Reaching across the distance between yourself and the woman, your mind connects with hers. And the instruction to stop moving takes on the absolute worst possible moment. Because as she's lunging, her arm smacks against your chest. The blade still clutched in the Richter's grip of the disconnected arm, sliding down your black leather, leaving behind it a trail, a scar along the leather with the splatter of the arterial blood flying behind the disconnected arm. The look of shock on her face is absolutely priceless. You've never seen eyes that yellow and that bloodshot go almost completely hemorrhaged dark red. You've never seen a mouth fall so open, lacking all strength before. You've never seen a body die before the mind has realized that it was gone. Because as you tell her to stop moving, you are fully aware that your mind touched her mind as everything that she was blinked out of existence. And her mind followed the orders given to stop moving. So not even the death knell, the scream of pain echoed from her. Only thing that is left of her in this moment is soaking your leather in that deep, dark, arterial blood. The scent, absolutely divine. The mess, absolutely repulsive.
Is it possible to at least like 1 hunger or at least 2?
So you descend on the dying woman and ensure that her trip across the veil is as erotically pleasurable as anything else in her existence has ever been. And watching this happen, Leonetti, there is a welling up in you. Would you be so kind as to roll 1/3 your humanity plus...
Oh, God.
Your DC is 3.
Wait, what do I roll? My humanity plus resolve?
Your unspent willpower.
Okay, so... And I regained it all from resting, correct?
No, you gain 1.
Oh, I just gained 1 from resting?
Yes.
Okay, so that means that...
And while that roll is
do I add my hunger to it?
No, just 1/3 your humanity, and you are frozen in place. You are talking yourself off the ledge. The beast is urging you forward. Leap into that maw. The neck is exposed. The throat is exposed. There's no way to feed and be cognizant of the surroundings. You know what the blonde is, as she is bathing in the blood and spray of this woman, this being who would have easily ended everything if she could. There are certain people that desperation causes them to go to extremes, and there are certain people that permanently live in that state of desperation. This was one such person. And that reality, that understanding, manages to grant you some Herculean strength, some depth of fortitude of thought that keeps you from pouncing and diving into the blonde with your fangs bared and divesting her of everything that you need. And in that moment, while back at the Tremere Chantry, there is an understanding that Marcus would know for Ben. Ben likes fresh. Ben likes an exchange of things and of moments. That subtle, unspoken trust that immediately developed when she provided her vitae to you. All of it was there. That warmth that was always there in the familial aspect, having grown in that exchange of vitae. You know what Ben likes. You know what is most satiating for Ben, and it is not anything bagged. It is not anything dead or divested of the life. That is a key facet as far as you are aware. So how are you going to obtain sustenance for Ben and Mason?
Okay. He's taking mental stock. He is fucked up. Mason and Ben are both in recovery. But Ben is having a quiet little mental breakdown. But going over his memories of all the times he's known Ben to feed, there seems to be a theme. And he highly doubts the Chantry is going to be the place to play that theme. Mason, too, seems to have kind of the same twitch. So he rounds on an acolyte and says, I have need of sustenance in the immediacy. And as your Magister, I'll be taking my leave for the evening. So please inform those that need to know and ask directly that they can contact me in the normal way. But first, my food.
Are you talking about the Old Red?
A couple bottles of the Old Red would be fine.
I'm sorry, Magister. I need permission.
And I'm giving it to you. Permission granted.
Okay. And he nods, nearly nodding his head completely off of his shoulders as he hustles along down the hall. But here's the problem. The permission he was asking for as a mortal potential acolyte to the Chantry. There are certain places that he shouldn't go unless he was escorted without express permission granted. That usually requires, now Marcus wouldn't know this, but that usually requires more than one magister, because we don't want to make the opportunity for them discovering something that they shouldn't. He, of course, quickly returns because, well, a magister is a magister, and impressing one of them, even if it is at a small cost, could perhaps be beneficial. It's only upon his return do you realize what exactly this cost him. Because while you gave him specific permission, you didn't let anyone know he was on his way. the pranks that you all play on each other doesn't stop with the undead. The singed hair, the lost eyebrows, the fact that a third of the skin along his jawline and neck from a very close shave are testament that you either survive and better yourself, or your time amongst the Chantry is not long for this world.
Children, it's fucking high school all over again. Okay, you did well.
Thank you, Magister. Thank you, Magister. And he waits.
What I want you to do now is go to my private quarters and study and rest and heal.
He looks as if he has just been invited to a 1960s Playboy party. And he's a Mormon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I did that deliberately. I need you to, for your study, I need you to compile a list of basic circles, basic ingredients, and basic icons, and lay them out neatly written for easy study. And once that's complete, I need you to sleep for at least 6 hours.
Yes, Master. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Not that it matters, but as he jaunts off in a rush, there are certain moments that are before and after. Like there was the life you had before a moment and the life you had after. For this particular acolyte, this is that moment. They completed a holy quest. They obtained the grail of the moment. They survived the perils necessary to achieve success. And without meaning to, with no intention of doing so, you provided the promise for an awakening, a realization, a opportunity to see how far they are willing to go to achieve their goals. And while the thought had never truly occurred to him, it now has taken root. There is an opportunity in perhaps alternative paths forward through the Chantry.
So I've created a monster.
If you can't climb your way to the top, you can always sleep your way there.
Okay, I've got what I need, but you know what, Mason? This whole power magister thing, I can see why you go after it. But we need to go. And I think the best place for us to go to get what you both need is going to be the succubus. Or the salacious. We're not going to...
What about what about a dragon? That you
eat first, then we find your dragon friend.
Well, Ben here definitely needs food, and where'd Leo go? I told him to follow you.
So but we let's get there. And on the way there, you can contact your friend, and then we can suck up the silk very quickly, because that's going to be a thing.
How can I contact my friend?
You have
Shows
a number?
broken.
What?
Shows broken phone that is still shattered in pieces.
We're getting you one of those really good phone cases next
You
time.
fucking Nokia. Bitch.
So I hand him my phone,
Yeah.
and we head to the van.
The battered, bruised van that doesn't exist? Or did you obtain other wheels? Or you can take the van that Ben and Leonetti drove, a clearly stolen vehicle.
Well, our van is buried 6 feet into a hallway in an apartment building. So we're going to have to take the stolen one.
Who's driving?
And can't drive.
Ben can't drive. I can drive. And since we're going to be driving very boringly, let's see. Trying to remember. Well, if you're in a stolen vehicle, the best course of action is to stay on the freeways. Because those are not patrolled as such. But we will take the fast.
Normally. And that's as definitive as you can possibly consider it. Because taking Broadway down, which is basically an expressway, by far would be the easiest way to connect with the 94 to shoot up and around.
Yeah.
However, with your visits and your trips through the other climes of the area, the thing that you all have not taken into consideration is that you have been extraordinarily lucky in avoiding the attentions of the heightened patrol levels. Up until 2 to 3 weeks ago, the average response time was just under 20 minutes. As of the last 3 weeks, the average response time is 2.5 minutes.
I just realized where we were.
Mm-hmm.
No. We have a plan B. Do you still have your key? Did your Audi survive?
To my knowledge, yes. We haven't been back to the farmer's market.
Yes, but we are right on 35th Avenue here. And the farmer's market is a straight shot from here. There's even a convenient place to hide the van.
The Audi only holds 2 people.
I'm skinny. I can scrunch up in the back.
Okay.
But the Audi's going to be much better than this police magnet.
Okay. I'm fine with it.
Okay. So instead of making a beeline up the 94, we're going to do the sneaky quiet thing, head down 35th, and jump up to 33rd, and ditch the van in the woods behind the market. We've only been back once since we had to abandon it. But Cedric said he was going to be able to light things back up. So, should be good. I tried to get the bug towed back, but I never heard back from the towing company, so the Audi should still be in there, though.
there's a confluence of efforts and facts and things that should not be a factor, but definitively are. It's the whole butterfly effect. Butterfly flaps his wings in some little coastal town on an island in the middle of nowhere. And, a prime minister is assassinated. It is that level of interconnectivity, the web of life around the world. Now, making it to the farmer's market should be as simple as staying within the speed limit. It should be as simple as just obeying the traffic laws. It should be as simple. But as you all get into the van and begin making your way across 35th, the lights come on almost immediately behind you. And you have a choice ahead of you. Do you mash the gas, or do you risk pulling over?
Ben's a gasket about to pop, so I would say probably the safer bet is to just start driving faster, but that would then lead to the cops chasing us. Depending on your skill, Marcus, you might not be able to.
You guys are on 35th in Virginia. You're just passing the Deliverance Temple Church, to let you know where you guys are. It is predominantly a residential area, and while it's a little out of the way in regards to most things, 35th is still a larger thoroughfare. It's quite natural that police officers would be on, or at least crossing 35th Avenue in this area of patrol. But there's no coincidence. Things don't just happen.
Do you think you can do mind whammy on him? Get us out of this? Are you up for it?
Yeah, just try and keep Ben under control. No offense to Ben.
Okay. So he lights us up at Virginia. So we'll stop near Carolina.
Easing to a stop at 35th and Carolina. The lots around you, unfortunately, are wide enough and far enough from the street that you guys are as relatively isolated as you can be. There's a bus stop just east of where you are by about 2 blocks. And the red light, which is just a suggestion in Gary, is roughly about the same distance. And the reason why it's a suggestion normally in Gary is the one rule that every motorist obeys. You just don't stop. You get gas if you're brave, but you just don't stop. On the street at night in Gary, it is typically a death sentence, even for officers normally, because they only have the payroll to normally have one officer in each car. Since the influx of funds and men and resources, the cars are rolling 3 deep. And as he pulls to a stop behind you, the officer doesn't immediately get out of the vehicle. Then you see the passenger officer on the radio. He got the hand held to his mouth, and he's speaking into it. And you know that they're pausing because they have the resources now. And they're calling in backup. As you look at each other, considering your options, would both of you be so kind as to roll intelligence plus either occult or insight? Then, would you like to partake as well?
Fuck you, game.
Well,
A call and what?
what was that?
A cult and what?
Intelligence.
Intelligence. Hold on. One sec.
All right, let's start with Ben. Prey should not harry the predator. These cowardly, barely worth notice members of law enforcement are an impediment to everything that could happen tonight. Everything that could be beneficial to the city as a whole, everything that could be beneficial to your coterie, everything that could abate things. And they are an impediment to it. They're ants feasting on a lion's carcass. Or at least attempting to. Mason, when did Gary get such new patrol cars? That is a Charger. They actually have Chargers now? And it's a VTEC. Are you serious? Who is providing them with all of the delicious fun? And why are there 3 of them in the car? And why are they pointing a camera at the vehicle?
I have a quick question. I know she's not all mentally there right at the moment, but would blushing work with her current situation or not? Because I don't know whether she would have blushed on the way out to the car, but with like some semblance of trying to hold on to that last shred of intelligence that's not the animal, she probably would have blushed. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know whether it'd work or not because of the whole partial shift, but she would be blushed right now, and then her hands would be kind of in a big floppy sweatshirt. But there's still the thoughts that you were saying is going on with the annoyance and looking at them as more as prey, but she would be blushed.
All right.
Okay. So The cop gets out of the cop car, and his partner's on the radio, right?
Yes. And in regards to, for the first time ever in nearly every episode, we will assume that despite the call of the beast, that Ben would blush. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and make that roll for me, please?
Coming to a separate realization, Marcus realizes he looks like Death Microwaved. And having been around vampires nonstop for several days, he hasn't blushed lately. So he too is going to human up.
Okay. I guess I shall too. It is a capital V, not a lowercase v. Oh shit.
If it weren't for bad luck, you'd have no luck at all.
I know.
So, taking the definition of look alive, the call, far more to heart than they ever have before, the coterie members summon up their most human of seemings. Mason, however, in the doing, becomes far more dead inside. Because the driver looks very much like what you would expect in a fireman's calendar from the late to mid 80s. A big, bushy porn stash, clearly chest hair to rival Magnum PIs, though the physicality, the musculature of him, is clearly on par with someone who does CrossFit and eats well. The reason why that's pertinent is because the human body has roughly 6.5 to 8 liters of blood, and there's nothing more attractive than a hale and hearty victim to divest of everything. Breaking the strong is far more toe curling than simply enjoying the moment with the weak. You could have him. And you hear her voice growing louder. Now, Mason, your ideas as to what is pleasurable are a bit quaint, moving past the expected and diving fully into what we are gives you a world of pleasure. And as the officer draws closer, his partner leaving the car, Mason knows that he smells like Old Spice. And his partner probably smells like Brute. They clearly use mustache, wax, probably something wood scented, maybe a nice cedar. And Mason knows that their sweat will be sweet and clean, not the oily stuff you get from people who don't eat well. And most importantly, their blood would be rich and thick and filling. And if you drain the last drop, you'd be able to enjoy for a moment every moment of pleasure that they've ever had. And speaking of pleasure, the divestment of life, the kicking off the mortal coil, the exiting this world brings with it an explosion of impulses. It is literally swimming through a mountain made of chocolate. It's literally soaring through the skies. It is every pleasure that you are physically able to understand. It is every pleasure that you are mentally able to tolerate. It is every facet of good magnified several megatons exponentially higher than simply the kiss. Divesting this woman of the last inches of the totality of her being awash in the arterial blood, which is like being baptized into the realm of pleasure. There is nothing like it. Nikki, would you remove your hunger to 0?
Ooh.
And as pleasurable as this moment is, the truth of what you've done settles in, because standing less than 6 feet from you is a kindred with a gaping stomach wound, with a hand cannon most recently pointed at your victim, looking as if he's watching the most orgiastic, physically taxing enjoyment he has ever watched, and the strain of it is showing in every fiber of his being. His fang extended, his gaze hungry, as if he's undressing your soul with his eyes, and the still smoking firearm in his hand.
Did you enjoy the show?
You realize you should get out of here. I'll give you one chance to run. I hope you take up that offer. Though, you can leave if you can leave without any worries if you can tell me about any other coterie, any other kindred around this area. I'll leave.
And would I know of any kindred in the area? Storyteller?
Well, you were on your way to Elysium.
Oh, I was headed to Elysium, and those are the only kindred that I know about. And it seems that I've messed myself in the scene, and I must change my clothes. She gets up, and if she can lick the wound, she would, and she would back up, because she's not that far from, she didn't really leave that far from the cathedral, so she's packing back to there. As I said, the kindred that I know about, other than myself in this area. She let her fall because Mason did text her. She glances at it, looks back at him, and texts a response. But do you excuse me? It seems that I have a date with friends. You're more than welcome to join if you can control yourself.
No. Sounds fun. Might as well. I don't think I'll find any kindred besides you around here anyways. I'll try to control myself.
As you both move towards the cathedral's back door, there is a realization that both of you all have. You just discharged a firearm a stone's throw, less than a half a mile from a municipal city center. You have the local offices of the mayor, the city hall. You have various other places And while normally the response time is just under 20 minutes, with the increase of officers, resources, and various other paraphernalia to the local law enforcement office, that response time in a city center near a place of a hard target for terrorist and criminal actions taken to the extreme, that response time is under a minute. You are literally at 50 seconds. And the sirens that were in the distance seem to teleport to within a stone's throw. A physical, actual stone's throw, not as the crow flies, not a half a mile. They are suddenly closing on the block. You can hear them from both sides, east and west, coming from a northwesternly direction and from a southeasterly direction towards where you all are. It's in any other city, it'd be standard procedure. It has not been standard procedure in Gary in so long that people are excited hearing the sirens. The few other individuals further along the alley who had ensconced themselves in darkness and knew better than to get involved when there were gunshots take off running. You hear footsteps moving across Broadway, and most importantly, you have less than 10 seconds. What are you guys going to do?
I'm going in the club. I'm going into the cathedral.
Yeah. I mean, that's the closest thing that the best thing he can do as well. So he's going into the cathedral as well.
Any port in a storm, and this is a storm of fuckery that one could not ever possibly attempt to account for mentally. There is a smoldering corpse, divested of divested of their blood, in the alley behind the Cathedral of Flesh. There is no doubt in either of your mind that the standard operating procedure is to cordon off the area. It is to go door to door. It is attempting to beat the bushes, find any witnesses, any cameras, and close the case as quickly as possible.
Since you said like that, I unfortunately have no choice but to stay. I mean, I wipe the blood off my mouth. I can't do anything from the clothes because that was spatter. And she does ask Leonidas, I hope that you have a license for that. And she's kind of like gesturing like the gun.
I'm actually thinking because I'm like, would he?
He works for a mafia don. He hires himself out to kill people and things. He has never been a legal entity.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, I'm going into the cathedral.
I mean,
dude,
you could just say that
that's one thing. Pardon?
I know I'm gonna get. He just goes because he realized that he gets no time. He's like, just okay, let's go.
I go into the cathedral and I change my clothes.
And you all settle inside the cathedral. Now, most tattoo parlors, even the low rent, the tattoo artist that goes door to door, they operate out of places that are big and bright and full of windows. There's neon and artwork on the walls. There's several rooms and places where people are tattooed inside, but there's always lots of clear views to the street outside to lure in business. Is the Cathedral of Flesh
Excuse me?
standard? Is the Cathedral of Flesh standard in this aspect?
No, because it's a church. Old church.
Yes, it was an old church, but the question is, did they, during the renovations and remodeling, during the pouring in of money, would it be designed to pull in street traffic? Would it be designed along the lines of a standard tattoo shop?
No. To be quite honest, no.
Excellent.
Because it's
Nice,
a club.
spooky, and mysterious.
Well, actually, it's more like it's a club with a tattoo parlor in it. Well,
The sort of place that would make standard Midwestern law enforcement officers curious as to what sort of crimes they can get from the people that visit it. The sort of place that raises more questions than it answers. The sort of place that once they have poured in the area and they've begun their canvass would appeal to knock upon the door.
she'll answer it. Somebody will answer it.
When he hears the knock and knows that no one's looking at him, Leonetti activates his ability, silence, unseen passage.
Unseen passage, you say? Yes, very good. Excuse me.
So roll for resolve. To resolve roll. Yes. Okay.
All right, so wait a second here. Okay, so your rouse roll is successful. You don't grow any hungrier. Your beast doesn't rise closer to the surface. No, that gives you the ability to escape notice as long as there's no reason for anyone to actually notice you. It does not remove the fact that you are in fact seen unconsciously. Mm-hmm. The smoking and smoldering firearm, what do you do with it?
Currently, I dash it away. I put it back into my cloak. And just kind of stay away from any kind of, from the door, keeping my distance.
Okay, so you skulk around the edges and try to stay out of anyone's immediate view and out of anyone's line of sight. While you're doing that, speaking of line of sight, the lead officer, i.e. the driver, has exited the vehicle behind you all. Everyone looks alive. It is a clear hunger crawling across Mason's face. The partner exits the vehicle with the handheld camera. It has 3 lenses It looks very much like something out of the late 50s in regards to what cameras were, but considerably smaller. Handheld isn't something that needs to be held on the shoulder in this particular case. It is exactly that same style, just a hair smaller. It looks like the camcorders are roughly the same camcorder size in the early and mid 90s, but the stylings of it, the workings of it, are considerably older. There's lots of metal, there's lots of silver, there's lots of old looking technology at play. And the passenger moves along the vehicle from the rear passenger right, holding the camera roughly at chest height as he moves towards the passenger window where Mason is. The driver moves to the driver's door. You guys know how fast you were going?
33.
And the third man exits the vehicle. Instead of moving directly to the vehicle, to the passenger side, his back up, he does the dumbest thing that most people would ever think of with a police officer. He stands dead center of the back of the vehicle, his gaze on both seats, the primary seat and the rear seat, looking, watching. His hands beneath the window at the back of the van. You can't exactly see what he's doing, but it's clear that he's doing something with his hands. I don't think that was 33. I got it at about 40, 45. You got your license and registration?
Yeah, somewhere. Hold on. And as I reach over to the glove box, I'm like elbowing Mason. Fucking do something.
Mason opens the door.
Hey, you, sit up. And the person with the camera takes a step back. He moves the camera from both hands into his lap and immediately unclaps his holster. Get back in the vehicle, sir. Get back in the vehicle.
Officers, come on. Speeding on an empty road. That's really why you stopped us tonight.
So you admit you were speeding. Good. Nice. Now get
I wasn't
back
the
in the
driver. How
field.
would I know? But that's what you're accusing us for, correct?
Get back in the vehicle and present your identification now.
Well, I'm Mason McGinnis. But I am unarmed, as you can see, as he he doesn't. He does a little twirl.
The firearm slides free of its holster. The camera is dropped. The belt, the safety harness that he was wearing, holding it on his hip as it falls into place. It's clearly heavier than it looked because it gives a slight pull. The driver outside of Marcus's door draws his firearm, leveling it towards Marcus's chest. The officer at the rear of the vehicle has stopped doing whatever they were doing, has freed their firearm. Get back in the vehicle, sir. This is your last warning.
Question: does the van have a side compartment to open it up to the back compartment?
You mean a sliding back door? Yes, it has a sliding door.
I open that door. The one where Ben's most likely situated.
You move to open the door, he fires.
Seriously? I'm getting back into the car.
As you yell, you're getting back into the car, the bullets begin to fly. I'm going to just simply roll once for the three of them, but they all have their particular targets.
Seriously? Can I still have all activated, right?
Mm-hmm. He is focused. The closest one is focused clearly on you. That is not ever a matter of question. In fact, he was focused on you, and that's what prompted the discharge. Because you're warned, You were warned, you twirled, and then you went to open the door.
Yeah, because to get inside.
Here on the passenger door, you opened the back sliding door where Ben was.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh psychotically. No, I do.
So Ben, Marcus,
Mm-hmm.
as the bullets tear into your flesh, is there something you all would like to do?
Well, I would try and
throw it in
dodge
reverse
the.
and run over the guy behind us. And I'm not stopping until I hit their car.
All right. Well, outcome of 4 and 3 is 7. Halved is 3.5. So you guys just take 4 health levels. Superficial.
You're funny.
As the bullets tear into you and the back door is open, would you be so kind as go ahead and roll your dexterity and drive? As the bullets are still firing, because at this point it's definitively a very old trophy. It's on and it's on. Because once the bullet should drop you all and stop this from being a traffic stop to this being a scene needing a cover up and getting their stories together, it doesn't happen the way that they expect. As the bullets tear into Mason, driving him against the vehicle slams into gear and backs away towards the officer behind. While this is happening, we have what Marcus is attempting to do. What are Ben and Mason attempting to do? Or are they just going along for the ride?
Well, Mason just has one target in mind, the cop that he first saw. He doesn't really care that there's a camera on him right now.
And now that the side door is kind of open, she would wait till they were passing one of the police officers and basically with her talons reach out and snatch him into the vehicle.
You'd have to leap out. You'd have to leap out. The closest would be Mason. The closest would be Mason, then the officer who had the camera who was firing at Mason now. Mason didn't hop into the vehicle. Marcus landed into gear. So you'd have to leap out towards that particular officer.
Yeah, no, she's not going to leave the vehicle. If it's getting away, then why would I leave it? But, that's what I'm saying. If it was close enough, she would just snatch one in. But if not, then she's going along for the ride.
Okay. And as the bullets tear through you, Mason, you said something about a target. I'm taking it that you would not attempt to leap into the fleeing vehicle. You'd move toward the officer who's firing at you.
Oh. Uh-huh.
Well, very well. Let's make it happen, shall we? Go ahead and what are you attempting to do? What is your intentions?
Well, he has a neck, doesn't he?
Barely beneath the jowls, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for.
So you're going to attempt to lunge forward, fangs out, and take a nice bite at crime.
Because I don't like these cops constantly bullying me. They've pulled me over several times. I'm tired of it.
All right, that being the case, would you be so kind of go ahead and roll your strength plus brawl?
Got you. I rouse the blood to up my strength.
Of course, if you'd like.
Thank you. To give me that extra edge. Oh no, this poor man. Okay.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, that places your hunger at 4 or 5.
I was at 1. I succeeded the save throw for.
You were at 3.
I was at 3.
You were at 3. And I know that you missed twice, but I wasn't sure if you had actually missed twice. I wanted to make sure with this one, are you at 4 or 5?
I think that would be 5 then, because if I was at 3, I would have failed twice now.
All right. Well, my dear friend, that means
Once again, I am at 5 hunger. Last time that happened, I blew up a restaurant.
And I'm also at 5 hunger. I'm also at 5 hunger.
Yes, that means that neither of you all can willingly rouse going forward. That means the sight of blood is a frenzy check. The scent of blood is a frenzy check. The pressures of stress is a frenzy check. With that understanding that your beast is literally an onion skin away from the surface, you leap towards the officer. Your strength and brawl roll.
Pressing shift. Okay. No fucking way.
All right. So, Marcus slams the van into gear, reversing back as quickly as he can. Ben braces for impact and holds on because it is a fleeing vehicle. They can get the out of here. Now, the response of the officers are: the driver who exited the police vehicle is attempting to put a shot dead center of the driver to stop the vehicle from escaping. The passenger who was holding the camera, realizing that this thing is rushing towards him, feigns akimbo, tries to place a stair step of shots from the sternum to the crown of the head and back. The officer at the rear of the vehicle tries to escape. Now, with all of those 3 things happening, we're only going to roll 1, and we'll see what the result is.
I mean, if I fail, it's still a bestial failure, so something fun happens.
Oh, fuck.
All right. The driver at the rear of the vehicle sees the vehicle moving feels the vehicle moving before he sees it moving and throws himself back into the middle of the street. The officer to the driver's side of the door places shots so directly and so center mass, he would clearly have been Robin Hood in another life. And while that is hugely unexpected that they would manage to survive such a desperate surprise action, what is far more surprising is the dropping of Mason instantaneously from the large, well-fed, well-manicured gentleman who, instead of immediately losing his shit and screaming and running for the hills, plants his feet as he backs away, firing from sternum to face. The shots tear through so cleanly there's not much of anything on the front side of Mason except for small entry holes from his sternum, up his chest, through his neck, through his chin, mouth, and the clip empties on the return down that center line. His velocity, his strength, his fury of being undead driving him far more forward than should be expected, in direct opposition to the velocity of shells tearing through him. The exit holes, large. The pain, excruciating. That's an outcome of 7 with a critical. And a bestial failure, effectively. Because of the velocity, because of the sheer lack of care, because of the desperation in the action, and because fate clearly has it in for Mason tonight.
Why? It's so rude.
That is 7 unhalved health levels. Where does that place you?
Oh, man. He was at 3 already. 3 superficial, not
Right.
aggravated, so that would place him. Mm, 5. How so? 7 superficial halved, or just 7 actual superficial?
7 actual health levels.
Okay. And basically, he would have 1, 2, 1 aggravated. I'm going to like draw this out. Sorry. So he's already at 3 superficial, so then adds 2. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's down. Again. He's at max aggravated damage again.
There's something spiritually welcoming about the darkness. There's something wholly familiar about the world being turned off. There is something wholly unfamiliar with how deep that darkness is. Each time previously, upon torpor, there has been the sounds of the world around you. Each time previously, there has been a chill that's fallen across you. There's been the knowledge that the world continues, and that life and unlife goes on in the balance. In this moment, the lights are all out. There's no sound. There's no wafting scent. There's a quiet that you have never experienced, and is the absence of all things. It is all encompassing. And just as you're mentally able to grasp the depth of the void around you, you find yourself alone in a starless sky. There are the sounds of wailing in the distance. There are the sounds of what can only be fire. Huge bonfires in the middle of nothingness. The light not reaching your eye from how far away it is. Sounds being carried by the wind all around you. And you're not sure exactly where you are, but you recognize some of the trees that are nearby. You recognize the street that you're on, the roadway that you're on. You've been here previously. Seems like a different lifetime ago, you last visited the Queen of Spades. Von Evan throwing parties like no one's business. The last time you were at the Queen of Spades was easily over 2 decades ago, and it was as one could only guess what paradise might seem like.
Okay, Mason looks around for Marion then. 'Cause he's okay. Yeah, he looks around for Marion. 'Cause he's only ever been to the Shadow. He's only ever been here only with Marion, his sire.
As you walk toward the sound of music and entertainment and people and lives being lived, you think you feel, and some bird-like desperation in the center of your chest hopes that this is a memory that you're reliving, as if you've been shunted back in the past of your mind and you're given the opportunity to relive things. And then Mamela's there. His easygoing smile and bright, almost cherubic gaze fixing on you. His barely contained accent more to the fore than it has ever been before.
Mason's smile fades immediately as he sees Mamela, someone he's never seen there before, which means this is not a memory.
Bonsoir. I did not expect you, of all people. But, we do what we do. Let's get a drink.
What's going on?
And perhaps you should tell me. But before working yourself up to it, let's get a drink. We have all the time we need.
No, I have things to do.
They're done now.
Fine.
Whiskey or gin?
Whiskey, Irish. But wait, I can't drink alcohol.
He sits the sweetest smelling, peatiest whiskey in front of you. It is as alluring as any flame that has attracted every moth ever born. The scent of it, this subtle, spicy sweetness. The fact that the glass is perfectly room temperature. Not one drop of ice has ever touched this whiskey. And you don't remember a bartender pouring it, but it's suddenly there. You don't remember entering into Queen of Spades, but you're suddenly there. You're at a back booth. You on a melon. Him with his glass of cachaça. You with your glass of whiskey. And the band. Not a DJ. Weird. But a band. A full 4-piece band. Just like back during Prohibition. Just like the night you walked into the speakeasy that became the Biscuiteers. When she was on stage. Her long hair trailing down her back. Her voice lifting everyone up, causing them to float along Amelia's cheering your glass. I thought that I would wait forever for one of you. I thought that I would be somewhere else, but here's as good as anywhere.
This is that place, isn't it?
It is neither place. It is just a place. And it's best that we hang on to what we have as long as we can. Because even here, there's an end to the road. Hopefully we don't have to move along soon enough for us to forget everything about our lives. And as he begins drinking, you realize that you too might be able to drink. And you raise the glass to your lips. And as what small bit of your soul exists, what small bit of what Mason was, has not faded through to his years of unliving. The whiskey is sweet. The whiskey is as close to heaven as he has earned his way. And as it slides down his throat, that casual burn of the alcohol within, not only a high enough proof where he immediately begins to feel the efficacy of it, it is the summation. Everything for Mason. And while that is taking place in the Shadowlands, as the officer leaps from behind the vehicle, managing to not be run over, Marcus, the vehicle slams into the police car behind you all. Ben, shots fired through the window, and as you all begin shifting back into gear, you watch as Mason hits the ground. 100 years of life slamming into him as his body hits the ground. You watch as the corpse that was Mason all but dust upon contact. Marcus?
Mm-hmm.
Having not suffered a critical failure on your part, you receive the 2 from 8 is 6 is the outcome.
6 total, or does it get halved?
6 superficial, yes.
Oh. I'm fucked up. Hold on. Many dots. I'm barely there. But I feel the crunch. I see Mason blow away. I throw it back in drive and aim for the one that shot me.
That's absolutely petty, but go right ahead. Make it happen. That's going to be your dexterity and drive. As you and Ben watching this happen, is there anything that you are intending to do?
There's not much he can do. I mean, it hurts watching Mason turn to dust. Him being her longest friend in the city, but like craziness would be to go leaping out and attempting to attack the cop that literally just turned him to death. That's not smart. It's not survival instinct. They are trying to get away. If they don't get away, then she will fight to the last. But for now, she is hoping they get away. So
So Al Talon is clenching the back of the driver's seat and the back of her seat. She holds on for dear life because the door is still open as Marcus engages in a bit of driving witchcraft, wheeling it into gear by sheer will. The officer who was firing into him, center mass, manages to get clipped by the vehicle, being knocked aside. The other two officers, one who had managed to avoid death just barely by leaping into the street, scrambles for purchase. As they scramble to their feet, the driver, the officer who was holding the camera, who was the last image that Mason managed to see, rushes towards the police vehicle. And as the police rush for their lives, scrambling for purchase, the knock upon the door falls with a heavy insistence that only comes from authority figures willing themselves to be the only figure worth or worthy of anyone else's respect. From experience, Nikki knows that they won't go away. From experience, Leonetti knows that they are going to keep knocking. So as Nikki opens the door and Leonetti fades into nothingness, the scent of his discharged weapon sticking and clinging to his clothing, having freshly changed, the officers are standing there. Hello?
Yes.
There was an incident. Do you have any exterior facing cameras?
You mean cameras on the outside?
Yes.
No.
Did you see anyone fleeing the area or running away from the area? And
No.
as he asked this, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your intelligence and investigations?
This is going to be funny. Still can't willpower. Total failure.
Okay. Go ahead and roll. If you like to use. You only roll two. You only roll 2 dice. There's no hunger there.
Yeah. She's at hunger 0.
Yeah, but there's no notation for it either. But that's fine. Leonetti, would you be so kind as to roll your intelligence and investigation while you witness this? Arterial spray coats everything. The pressure from an artery rupturing can easily cover 25 feet if there's nothing blocking its path. The only thing blocking its path was, in fact, Nikki's body. The ground between the body and the doorway to the Cathedral of Flesh is splattered. Droplets, nothing that would be immediately visible to anyone not sensitive to blood, but to a kindred as hungry as yourself. Those gleaming droplets of life that fell from Nikki as you all backed and moved into the Cathedral of Flesh are there across the doorway and in the path of the officer. He hasn't noticed them yet because this is just a perfunctory investigation at this point. But if he turns away, or if he looks down, or if the conversation veers, there is more than a easy 75 to 80% chance that he'll notice the droplets there. You may think it's paint, you may think it's something else, but notice that he will. So you don't have any outside cameras in this neighborhood? You're a brave one. So there was an incident. Someone discharged their firearm out here, and you didn't see anybody running past. You didn't see anyone.
Well, once I heard the shot, no one was fighting.
He breaks out his notepad, and you are
Nicole Fisher.
Nicole Fisher. Is that Fisher?
Yes, it is.
And just to make sure that I'm speaking with the right person. Now, are you the owner, the operator? Are you an employee here?
I'm the owner and operator.
Excellent. And you're sure you didn't see anything at all? Any little thing you can offer could help us maybe find who was responsible for what happened out here.
I'm quite positive I didn't see anyone. I only saw the body.
And he glances down at his notepad, trying to make sure that he's asked all the questions that he needs, and that he doesn't have anything that he'll need to recall back. No witnesses, nothing seen, no exterior cameras, no windows, and he looks past his notepad at the ground beneath his feet. And he pauses. And then he looks Nikki dead in her face. And you didn't see anyone, and no one came to your door.
No one came to my door.
And he puts the notepad away and moves his hand to his belt. And no one's in here with you?
Oh, they my employees and probably a customer or two.
He undoes the latch on his holster. And none of your employees or your guests have entered or exited in the last 15, 20 minutes out this door?
Not to my knowledge.
He draws his firearm and hits the button on his mobile with his left hand. I'm going to need backup. I need, ma'am. And he clears his holster. I'm going to need you to grab everyone that's in this building and call them over here now.
But of course, she can fire.
So you have about 6 people in the building. Initially it was none, but you have about 6 people in the building as you call them over. 2 employees and 4 guests, i.e. their friends who, well, there's not any money being made, so they might as well party. They are not in the best state as far as sobriety is concerned, but they're playing along like, oh, hey, Nick, I thought you left already. Oh, shit. Why does he have his gun? And the other officer comes to the door, and he points down directly at the droplets of blood in the doorway, clearly being led into the door. We're going to need you guys to step out here for us, one at a time. Come on. And he moves back into the building so that he's facing the door. His partner takes a step to the side and begins speaking on their mobile. Yeah, we're gonna need a truck in some live voice down here.
Is there a problem?
Well, we just want to make sure that everybody's safe first. We'll answer any questions when we have the opportunity after this. But first, we need everybody to step out of the building and move to that far wall. He points across the alley where the garbage still hasn't been picked up and there's no semblance of clean. However, it is out of the building.
Again, she complies.
They call over their forensic team, which would have been a laughable statement as little as a few weeks ago. The increase of resources and manpower have changed the operational aspects of GPD. They have forensic, they have medical examiners, they have people, and they are attempting to use them. The two officers that were initially called over join the others who are keeping a watch on everyone. They're beginning to separate everybody into single one-on-one conversations as the forensic crime scene analysts begin collecting evidence. They're swabbing the blood and they're taking pictures of the doorway, and it's a mess. It is an anthill overturned, a frenetic wave of activity as they begin cataloging everything from the scene back, missing blood, the caliber of the firearm used. It's all being denoted, it's all being jotted down, it's all being collected. Unlike on most movies, there is a sanctity to a crime scene that people attempt to have, the police officers attempt to maintain. They minimize how many people track across what could be a clue and what could be an evidence. They seal off the area as best as possible. And while there are a ton of people involved, the steps that they take to preserve what information they can is, by any other definition, extreme. Everything's double checked, everything's double photographed, sometimes triple photographed, sometimes 4 and 5 times photographed. The path of travel changes to account for every ring of data as it moves further from the initial crime scene. Now, normally that would include shutting down the alley and shutting down the street, but they extend outward in concentric circles, collecting as much data information as they can. And so while it's active and it's busy, there is a glaring, painful factor for Leonetti. That is, while you have the rest of forever, so too does your beast. And while they are not on the menu, your beast, your darker impulses, demands a life. It demands that satiation. And if it cannot have the meal that it needs, it will take the meal that it can. Would you be so kind as to roll 1/3 humanity and your unspent willpower? The difficulty is 4.
Okay, so that would be how much? Well, let's see. Yeah, I thought so. Wait, that's a failure. Meant to do that as a. Oh, anyways, it's fine. Oh, fuck.
They say that Solomon was one of the wisest men that ever existed, that he served dutifully and loyally and faithfully the God of his people, that he served God with all that was in his heart. But much like his father, David, he failed. The eventuality of the sin that he created was almost destined. It was a sure thing. As humans, we are filled with frailties and failings and shortcomings. As kindred, not much between that understanding changes, except for you have the rest of forever to commit your failures, your frailties, your failings, your shortcomings ad nauseum. And your beast knows this, and it preys on it. And in your choice to avoid the ebb and flow of a few people coming in and out of the place and trying to stay out and away from everyone, you find yourself beset by activity. You find yourself smelling the stink of life on these people. The stink of life that summons your beast forward like a storm. And just like a storm, the eventuality of the downpour hits you full force. As the lesser crime scene investigator, you can tell based on his jacket, the fact that he's only wearing booties and gloves, and have the almost near full hazmat suit on. He has a clipboard and has an actual disposable looking camera. He's taking pictures of the shelves, of the floor, of the windows, of the doors, and moving through the place to catalog everything that is on the path from the doorway into the building, into the cathedral. And in the doing, as you were seeking to avoid coming to his attention, you find yourself corralled. You find yourself pinned into a corner. And that is not a place that any beast, any predator will allow themselves to remain. And you're waiting, trying to time his get around him to escape his gaze, to make sure that the camera flash doesn't hit where you're standing. And then it does. He's not aiming at you. He's actually aiming at the poster behind you. Unfortunately, you are invisible to his notice, but he's not invisible to your beast notice. And you set on him with a roar, your fangs sinking to the hilt into his flesh. Your anger at yourself and your beast's anger at the world racing through him as you gluttonously drain him of everything that he is. Unfortunately, the pleasure of the kiss keeps him from screaming out. He initially tried, and it came off as a and then the wetness that followed soaked away every other facet. And in the moment, as you're draining him, you realize what you're doing. You're crossing a line that you had set for yourself years ago. And your beast is laughing and enjoying your descent into despair and darkness. Your shame feeding it. Your anger is warming its being and warming its soul. And the loss of life grows once more.
Is anyone else around to witness this?
Not immediately, but you have roughly 30 seconds, and you're drinking as if you are a world champion guzzler. But there's no escaping the fact that the front of your being is stained in this person's life juice, that your mouth is awash in the fluid of this man's life, that his ecstasy as his life is drained away will draw attention.
Oh. Right, get out of this. I guess. Let's try and hide again. But this time, get out of the. And is the door What is like directly in front of the? Is anything directly in front of the door?
Officers and crime scene investigators and forensic pathologists and all manner of police officers moving around the area, taking pictures and making it difficult for anything except for a frontal assault or a direct frontal retreat, meaning that there's clearly more than one door into the place.
Well, wait. There's more than one door into the place. Does Leonetti see it?
Yes, he does.
Well, then he's gonna go. He's gonna do his best to go out through there
Excellent.
while reactivating his unseen path.
Perfectly understandable.
And did I decrease in hunger?
Yes, your hunger is 0. Unfortunately, all your hunger is completely gone. Opening the door attracts the undue attention that you were expecting. Opening the door in the middle of a crime scene is as good as screaming fire in a movie theater. It's as good as saying bomb on an airplane. It's as good as not removing your belt when entering into a courthouse. All eyes are on you. Doesn't take long for them to, roughly 3.5 seconds. And outside in the alley, you hear, "Holy shit, there's somebody else in here!" And you watch as the relatively pristine crime scene, in terms of activity and how they're avoiding doing anything, and kicks into high gear. There's nothing like people who are looking for an opportunity to abuse their authority. There's nothing like people who are on edge because there is a dead body, which is missing a limb in the alley. There's nothing like watching people who think they have the culprit, or at least one of the culprits responsible, because the blood trail entered into the doorway. They didn't notice it at first because it's just droplets, it's just small bits of things that nothing, and then they noticed. And now there is a tall, dangerous looking man running from the front door of a place that was supposed to be divested of any person. There are clusterfucks, and then there's what this is. It is the absence of all fucks given, because the police will move into high gear. And as long as they are within eyesight, invisibility is not an option.
Yeah. Well, can he fire off a round before? Can he start shooting before they do, taking out targets that are closer and seem to be pulling their guns out as prioritizing
he's
them?
Going to get into a shootout with a quarter of the Gary Police Department.
I mean, it's either that. I mean, well.
Just curious. No, I just want to make sure that.
Okay, wait. I do have the mask advantage, so I do pass as human. But I'm fucking suspicious as hell, and I have a firearm without a permit, and possibly thought dead by an organization that I don't want to No.
So escape is off the table as far as Leonetti is concerned, and it's time to fight.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, could he still theoretically escape? Well, like the way he's going.
There are not nearly as many opportunities for easy escape. However, even where he is, breaking out the front door, which puts him on Washington Street, there's a charter school in the old church that has been turned completely into a charter school directly across the street. He could make it into there, which creates the opportunity of potentially evading. If he makes it out of there, across the alley from there, there is the actual church, the Chicago Episcopal Church. You can go north on Washington toward 35th, which makes no sense because most people know that that's the worst thing to do. But then there's several other buildings on both sides of Washington as he makes his way towards, 35th. Then there's going south across 6th Avenue. And there's the Tabernacle and several other homes and buildings, as well as places to dip, duck, and dodge. If he makes it down to 6th Avenue, he can cut west or east. Going east, of course, puts him closer to Broadway, which is a major thoroughfare. Going west and puts him more into the neighborhoods, the open yards, the overgrown lots. So escape, while difficult, still possible.
Okay, so which one of those gave the most opportunities to hide?
Breaking into the charter school across the street.
You know what? Let's do that. It gives hide and cover. Let's do that. I'm expecting death. By a rabbit's foot.
All right, so it's gonna be mostly brute force in this case to get out of sight. So you gotta break through the door and then get inside and find a place to break line of sight. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your strength and athletics? Your DC is 3. And while that roll is happening, watching the frenetic activity of the cops kick into high gear, Nikki. And what is it that you are attempting or intending to do?
Damn. Okay, wait. You gotta be kidding me. Wait, can I not do that? A total failure. Well, I'm at the power.
You were saying, Nikki?
I'm dead.
Dead? No. You're already dead to begin with. You're undead. It'll be fine.
I'm dead again.
Yeah, there ain't too much she can do. She will feign surprise.
Okay. So, just to make sure that we have a clear understanding, Nikki is standing outside of her building, outside of her place. The police are swarming all over it. There's a dead body in the alley between her building and the Gary Housing Authority. They're looking for a murderer, or at least evidence that would point to one or multiplicity of the people inside the Cathedral of Flesh to be responsible for the dead corpse moldering in the alley. Leonetti breaks out of the front door. You don't know for sure that it's Leonetti, but there's only one person that you knew that was inside that was unaccounted for. And
whoa, no, she didn't know that because he obfuscated when she went looking.
While Nikki is not herself criminally motivated, while she doesn't have that much experience with dealing with the police, either mortal or kindred, as she tries to keep a low profile, she has seen enough TV. She's read enough books. She has been alive long enough to know what comes next. First comes the questions, Then comes the fires. And everything that on a cursory examination of the scene points to her either being the culprit, the mastermind, or otherwise involved. The question now becomes, does Nikki have a sense of self-preservation? Because there's no way and nothing else to personify being arrested except for death. The wheels of justice move, but they move very slowly. And in that time, if Nikki was taken into custody, there's one thing that would happen. One definitive outcome, and that is death. There would be a powdering, a dusting of all that she could ever be and all that she ever was. You have a crime scene that has been violated. At the very minimum, that would be a night in jail. And being as it is already night, that means that it will be a morning in jail. With that understanding, is there anything that Nikki has intended?
How many officers are there?
Several. There are several who are chasing behind the disturbance inside the Cathedral of Flesh. But again, this is an active crime scene. It's not a handful of officers. They are clearly flexing and showing off their surfeit of resources and manpower. What are you attempting?
Well, during the commotion, she's just going to try to.
All right. Well, let's simplify this. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your composure and stealth? Your DC is 3. And while that's happening, you miss. Fate is on the side of these officers. Somehow in the turning of the wheel, the daring of willing to run over police officers, you missed. Are you going to stop and attempt to make sure that you hit, clip, or otherwise harm these officers, or are you going to flee the scene, Marcus?
I'm fleeing the scene. I'm going to.
Marcus.
Can I? No, sorry. Never mind.
Marcus, did we lose you?
Sorry. I'm hoping that I hit the cop car hard enough when I backed into it that I made driving it problematic at best. Since the driver is trying to get up off the ground after I clipped him, the guy that was behind us is still recovering from almost being run over, and Numbnuts ran back to the car. I'm just hammered down and going. I'm not going to wait for them to react. Every time they've reacted, it's been bad for me, so.
All right. That being the case, it's going to be several foot races and a actual car race at this point. Nikki, if the button isn't working for you, I'm not sure why it's not, but you can go ahead and roll an IV space 3, and that'll count for your willpower roll. And we'll just add the successes if there are any additional together. All right, and Leonetti, means now is a foot race to get you out of sight. Would you be so kind as to roll your dexterity and athletics? And Marcus and Ben, would you be so kind as to roll your resolve and drive?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me. Martin Luther.
What?
Okay, so I'm assuming by what you said that the cop car, once they all get back in it, starts.
It unfortunately does. But it is a race for glory. It is a race to get out of sight long enough to get out of sight and stay out of sight.
Right.
In the ensuing fracas across the city, this is a night of long knives as far as those criminally minded are concerned, with so many flashing lights, and this has become the new normal for those who are criminally minded within the boundaries of Gary. This is the new normal for the kindred of the city of Gary. This place has erupted into the third pit of hell as far as it comes to avoiding police and avoiding notice and getting by underneath the radar. It takes the next 20 minutes of frenetic, dedicated activity on each of our coterie members' parts to avoid, evade, and hide long enough for the police to find other means and get desperate. In the doing, they are all disparately spread across the city. Where would each of you all consider a good fallback location to hide, knowing that the Cathedral of Flesh is an open crime scene? Leonetti's description is going out across the wire. The van, again, this description and those involved are going out across the wire. Where would you all seek to hide further attention and at least wait out the day? You need a safe place to lay low long enough to sleep away the death that is coming.
Well, based on where we are, my evasion would have been in line with what I was already planning to do, is get to the woods off of East 33rd Avenue near the river. If I can get there, then Ben and I are golden.
Okay. Leonetti, Nikki.
Well, her original plan was to go to Elysium.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, we can
you
hear
hear
you.
us?
Ben? Oh.
Hello.
Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
It feels like it was going to disconnect for a minute. Yeah, I think her and Marcus would stick close to each other, but if push comes to shove, he's probably faster as a bird, and she would just it's nighttime, they're in the woods, owl makes sense to her, but she would stick close to him, so wherever that he's playing on hide, she would hide with him, but like I said, it's harder to catch them together if one is a bird and the other one is a human shape, but they're looking for two human shapes.
Well, the area around 33rd is just woods inside the town. That's why I picked where I did for the market, because I can use 33rd, ditch the van, and then turn invisible and run back to the market. And I have that hidden room underneath one of the old paper presses, so we can avoid the obvious office bedroom inside.
That definitely works. Now, with the local enforcement officers up in arms, would Nikki still attempt to bring them even accidentally to Elysium, or would there be another place that she might consider? And the same thing for Leonetti. Where would you consider?
Or if that's the case, I found an abandoned building in the area because I've seen the area, a bunch of them. So try to find a building that's outside of their church net.
Okay. And Leonetti?
I'm looking at the map, and well, I don't know exactly where the Church of Flesh was. I did see the farmer's market close to Kohan Rose place.
Mm-hmm.
Is that around where I am? If so,
if you look there on the map, you're at this epicenter of where you are is actually 6th Avenue in Washington, just west of Broadway, i.e. 53. So there's close at hand, not all that much, but moving north and west, finding a place to lay low isn't all that hard. You can find any abandoned building, dig a hole underneath a mildly exposed basement or what have you. Running the opposite direction will more than likely get you more attention than not, unless of course you steal a car and try to make it on the road to cover that distance that quickly enough to get safe before sunrise.
probably an abandoned building. And just stay quiet.
So with
Interest.
So with decisions made under the most extreme of pressures, and with Mason ceasing to be in front of everyone's eyes, and with the night waning and the day waxing into existence, sun cresting the horizon line, with thoughts of, oh shit, sitting on everyone's foremost mind, we draw to a close. We will reconvene here for our next episode, and we'll continue via post over the next few bits of time. I want to thank you all for a lovely session. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I said I didn't want him to die, damn it! God, dice pools. Dice pools be mean.
I just wanted to go to fucking Elysium, man.